lore friendly episode 89.
Who cares anymore, mate? Who cares?
I have a non-lore friendly coffee in my hand that I'm drinking.
Oh, we didn't have coffee back in them days.
I should have went to the local Starbucks and gotten myself an actual Westerosi coffee, but unfortunately I'm just lazy, so I have regular
Unfortunately,
coffee.
I don't think they have that roast in Westeros personally.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Not even at the house Starbucks? They are not experts at that particular kind of roast?
No, quite unfortunately, no. In fact, they only specialise in honey brewed mead. I mean, they still use paper cups.
Oh, of course, naturally. They're at the forefront
because
of that.
It's really easy to recycle.
Yes.
And as we have just seen, climate change is imminent. And yes, you can fight off the winter one time, but have you won the war? No, so they're now becoming very conscious about reusing and recycling their paper cups.
True. I mean, it's a scare because the Night King is analogous to climate change, right? Mm-hmm. The others are. So now, like, House Starbucks has probably been, like, railing against the waste that has gone on in Westeros for some time. And nobody really believed it until now. Yes.
For those of you who do not understand what we're talking about here, this episode of Game of Thrones featured a new star.
Yes,
a new star character, introducing them 3 episodes before the finale. This is like introducing Euron as being one of your final bosses sort of shit. And it was a Starbucks coffee cup.
To be fair, they kind of seeded this early on when they introduced Euron and his leather jacket. That it's not your typical fantasy setting here, that there are houses that have developed advanced technologies, in this case paper cups, in other cases leather jackets. So it's all lore friendly. It's all good.
It's all completely in universe stuff.
Yes. People are saying it's out of place, but I believe it was placed there on purpose
to show the evolution of...
Yes, exactly. I did have a ton of fun with the thumbnail this week, which
God, I cannot wait. Is it Walder Fraser Starbucks cup?
Check your Discord. Completely lore friendly. I did not edit this image at all, which was nice for once. I didn't have to change anything.
You just had to take a screenshot, and there you go.
Exactly. There's a
Perfect.
Shrek, a set of Shrek DVDs in the back. It's all completely.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna owe me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed.
And if you think about it, that might explain why they have so much difficulties with, like, their battle plans and stuff. It's all like the fast food that is on the table. It's just,
It's greasing up the map. It's smudging the names. Nobody knows where they're going.
Yeah, they're not even using coasters.
It's fucking disrespectful. That's what it is. Somebody had to paint that map. Hand paint it. Some poor cartographer is rolling over in his grave because he is probably dead. Let's just admit that, because of how many people died in the last episode.
They probably put him on the front lines along with the trebuchets
and the Dothraki.
Yes, we did learn that half the Dothraki survived, which was a surprise to me.
What? Where were they?
Yeah.
What?
In the crypts,
so
probably.
Much of the Unsullied managed to survive as well. It's like, well, where did all of this army come from? Like, yes, half of your forces have been depleted.
Yes.
But where were they? They certainly weren't in the courtyard when Rhaegal or Viserion, or I can't remember which one's the undead dragon anymore, was fucking shit up. Were they?
Maybe they were trotting out there with the rest of the cavalry, and then they realized halfway through, like, this plan is terrible, so they just threw their swords down and just ran off.
Fair enough, can't blame them. It was a pretty shitty plan. But we went on about that enough last episode.
Yes. Let's talk about this episode.
Before we do get into this episode, Game of Thrones related news. Sophie Turner has gotten married.
What?
But she's not just gotten married. She got married with a Vegas wedding. And it was officiated by Elvis.
As is custom in Vegas.
Exactly. And honestly, good on her. She looks like she had a grand old time.
I mean, you don't go to Vegas and have your wedding officiated by, I don't know, Taylor Swift. It's Elvis. It has to be Elvis.
Fuck that noise. No, apparently, people have been waiting for them to reveal details about what wedding date it's going to be, what designer they're going to use, and her and her boyf were just like, fuck it, we're getting married in Vegas. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, there's something about that is kind of exciting, I guess, and fun. I mean, at least it wasn't one of those court weddings,
Yeah.
It's the most romantic type of wedding.
Yeah.
When you just go to the court and sign a paper and then you're married. But,
Yeah. But I just think it's such a nice contrast to the awful weddings that she's had on the TV show.
That is true.
And this is a question that I have for the last 2 episodes, because she has now legally changed her name, so she's not Sophie Turner anymore. She's Sophie Jonas.
Oh, yeah?
Are they going to change her name in the credits for the last 2 episodes?
Probably not. She's probably still going to be Sophie Turner as an actress, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
as a professional name.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you got married, you'd still be Alice Bell, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, the other name doesn't quite have as much a ring to it, honestly.
Yeah, Alice Bell is a good stage name. And it happens to be your real name, so there you go.
I know. It rings very nicely, It's got a nice rhythm. But yeah, I just thought that was a fun bit of news. She's just like, fuck it. Vegas wedding.
Are you a fan of the Vegas wedding?
I just think it was a nice bit of contrast, honestly.
Do you want the traditional wedding?
Yeah. I want a big floofy dress, and I want 20 braids in my hair, and I want a direwolf to walk me down the aisle.
You're asking for a bit much. Maybe just one of the guinea pigs or something.
Yeah. Luna can walk me down the aisle. Give away her mother. It's how I want it to be.
Fund it. But yes, this episode started somber considering what happened with the last episode. We had the funeral pyre scene.
And you know what? That funeral scene was great. It was the best thing about the episode.
Thumbs up.
By a long shot. It was emotional. It hit all the right marks. My favourite part of it was when Sansa was seeing to Theon's pyre. Mm-hmm. And she took her Stark pin and gave it to him, thereby honouring him as a Stark.
Yes.
Which is a main part of his identity crisis in the books and a lot of the TV show, in that he sees the Starks as being his true family. Even though he was held hostage by them, he still sees them as being his true family, where he was raised, the morals that he has, that sort of thing. So I thought, you know what, that's a nice final acknowledgement.
It was. I like that scene. It was very nice. And then we transition to the feast. And a lot of it carried over. They're still mourning the dead, so it's, even though it's supposed to be somewhat of a festive time, it's not, because everybody's still kind of thinking about what just happened. Then we have Dany. She kind of breaks the ice by naming Gendry the Lord of Storm's End.
Well, first she breaks the ice by saying, "Oh, so just so you know, your dad killed my family and usurped my crown."
Yes. That was not as much of an icebreaker as the other part.
But then she legitimizes Gendry as Robert Baratheon's rightful heir, which you have to think, it is causing some issues there, because Robert Baratheon was still the king on the Iron Throne, and he claimed his kingship through right of conquest, so now she's given Gendry a claim on the throne. But she didn't think about that. And what irked me about this is that he runs off to go tell Arya, because he's so excited. Yes. He's so happy about the fact that he's finally a lord, he's finally noble-born, and he can finally marry her.
Yes.
And so she runs up to him, and she's like, "I'm no longer Gendry Rivers." And at that point, I was like, right, so.
Your poor table.
Bastard naming conventions. Rivers is for the Riverlands. Snow is for the North. Pike is for the Iron Islands. Hill is for the Westerlands. Flowers is for the Reach. Sand is for Dawn. And you know what's for King's Landing?
No idea.
Waters, not fucking rivers. Because King's Landing is on the coast. Therefore, it's Gendry Waters, not Gendry Rivers.
Is it possible that he just forgot his own name?
I mean, they are both bodies of water.
Yes.
But I think it's more likely that D&D forgot.
Next episode is going to be Gendry Ocean.
Gendry Spring.
Gendry Lake.
Gendry Little Stream.
Gendry Pond. Gendry Puddle.
I want him to go for Gendry Puddle.
Yes.
That's the name I can get behind.
I did like that scene in that Arya, in the very first episode, I think it was, that Ned Stark was walking her down and saying, this is what a lady's, like, her responsibilities are going to be, and then she's going to marry a lord and have kids and all that. And Arya, I don't know the exact words, but she was, obviously
That's not me,
that.
because it's the same thing as she said to Nymeria.
Yeah, exactly. And so she says that to Gendry, so it's kind of a nice callback to that episode that she kind of, like, rejects him as she should, character-wise as she should, not in terms of her life. Thought they would be a nice couple, but
Yeah. I think they would have made a fantastic couple. Yeah. But again, she doesn't want to be a lady.
Yeah, exactly. She doesn't want to do that stuff. But, I mean, that's the thing, though. She doesn't have to do lady stuff. I mean, she doesn't have to be a traditional lady. I mean, they could get married and she could go off on her adventures wearing people's faces. I don't really see why there would be a conflict.
Yeah. That's the thing. So Arya was honoured in this feast, but then they forgot about her for the entire episode. When it came to planning what they're going to do with King's Landing.
Yeah, she was there, though, at the table, as our thumbnail shows.
She was there at the table, but they forgot, hang on, we have a face-changing assassin here.
Yeah, that's true. Do they know that she can do that, though?
Sansa does, because she dropped a bag of faces at her feet.
Yes, she did see the faces. But is that a secret that she wants to tell, unlike other secrets?
Oh, I don't... I don't know. But the thing is, they have an assassin in their midst who is trained with the most dangerous assassins in canon.
Yes.
Why don't you think to use that asset? Like, include her in your strategizing.
I'll forgive them on that point because it's not entirely clear if people know, other than Sansa finding the faces. And even then, I don't know if she knows the exact use of those faces, if she knows exactly how Arya utilizes them.
Just like, oh, my sister's just skinning faces. Oh, that's just a bit weird.
Yeah. Maybe she, carries them around as trophies. It's just...
So this is my Walder Frey.
It's a huge fan of Halloween. Halloween, Starbucks, and Taco Bell.
I feel like they should have a Halloween-type celebration.
Yes.
Because the dating of Halloween is based on All Hallows Eve, which precedes All Saints' Day, I believe.
Well, again, because we have a house Starbucks and a pumpkin spice drink that is available during that time, I think it's all relevant.
Yeah. And they could have totally had a holiday for the stranger, I think, which would have been ideal to have, a Halloween analogy.
There you go. So that's what Arya is. She's just a big fan of the stranger.
She's just a big fan of Stranger's Day. Oh, God, that sounds so weird. Stranger's Day.
Yes, it sounds incredibly creepy.
What are you doing for Stranger's Day, little Timmy? Well, I'm going to go knock on strangers' doors and hope that they give me lots of candy and turnips.
Yes, this is why nobody celebrates Stranger's Day.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Stranger Deja.
The other thing we had at the feast was, first we had Bran making another weird flex, talking about his wheelchair.
And you know what? I like that little nod to canon. Now, it's not 100% canon that this king decided to make a wheelchair for somebody. Did he say it was his cousin or something like that?
His nephew, I believe. Yeah. Prince Daeron Targaryen.
Yeah.
120 years ago. It was just a very strange flex by Bran. Hey, look at my wheelchair.
Look at all my knowledge.
Yes.
I'm so clever. But, so the Daeron Targaryen probably refers to Daeron the Good, who was known as being a scholar king, and he was the reason why Dorne was finally brought into the Seven Kingdoms. Through lots of negotiation and diplomacy.
Because Dorne resisted the Conqueror for many, many years.
120 odd years, yeah.
Yes. Dragons were not enough for Dorne. They're like the one kingdom.
Because they're super sneaky.
Yes. Very, very sneaky.
Sneaky. Dornish pee-pee.
But what I found a bit strange about that scene was like he's like bragging about his wheelchair and talking about how much he likes it. I'm like, oh, Bran's being emotive, and then like.
But he was being emotive in a voice that was flat.
Yes.
It was Daeron. He designed it for his nephew.
I like it. And then a second later, he's like, I don't want anymore.
I don't want anymore. I don't want anything anymore. I mean, I wanted this wheelchair, but I didn't want it. It was more of a need, want it.
Yes. A need to show off, apparently.
I need to humble brag about my history knowledge.
He did flex on Tyrion there, and Tyrion's like, wow, you really know a lot about history. Bravo you.
That will serve you well as a lord. It's like, I'm no lord. Who wants to be a lord? Not this bitch. I don't want for shit, bro.
And then he wheeled away and said, "Caca!
Caca, motherfuckers!" No, it's more of a caca, motherfuckers.
That's right.
But yeah.
So.
Oh, hang on. I swear, right? I think it was in the funeral scene.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jon Snow has an ear piercing.
Does he? Was it a dragon glass piercing?
No, it was just like a little metal hoop like the ones that I have.
Mm.
And I swear that I saw one. I swear. Little metal hoop dangling on his right ear.
Another technological advancement brought forth by House Starbucks. It's just...
No, actually, those were probably imported by the Dothraki.
Ah, that's true. They do have a bunch of
piercings.
Earrings and, piercings and things like that. That's true. Jon Snow, he probably wanted to honor the Dothraki for saving Ghost by sacrificing themselves.
Yeah.
One after the other.
Although, actually, this is something that I only learnt quite recently because I was researching ways that I could get away with wearing jewellery at work.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, nobles in England have been having their ears pierced for years and years and years. And Charles I was notably famous for never being pictured without his ear piercing.
Oh, there you go.
So there we go.
Historically accurate.
Well, Charles I is a little bit after medieval times, but I'm assuming that the technology of something to be stabbed through the ear really predates that. Because sailors would often pierce their ears as well. One, because they thought it gave them better eyesight, and two, so if they washed up dead, they would have something on them to pay for their funeral.
That sounds like a very strange thing to deduce, that piercing your ears would improve your eyesight. I wonder if piercing your eyes would improve your hearing based on that logic.
Well, as somebody who has 8 ear piercings and is legally blind in America, I can confirm that it does not improve your eyesight at all.
Still, maybe if you shove a nail through your eye, it's going to improve your hearing. You're going to have super hearing. Work for Daredevil. I mean, to be fair, blind people in comic books tend to have super hearing.
Daredevil.
So, exactly. Maybe it works the other way.
Back to that Defenders show.
Yes.
Ugh.
Maybe if you damage your hearing enough, maybe if you just stick the instrument, the sharp instrument, not in your lobe, but right through your ears, your other senses get heightened, and there you go. It improves your eyesight. You're good. Sorted.
But my livelihood is based on me being able to hear things, Chris.
That is true. That is true. Among other things.
Yeah.
It is a kind of an important sense. The marginal improvement to your eyesight may not be worth it.
No, I think I'll just stick with being partially blind and save up for laser eye surgery.
One of the other things, moving on, that happened during the feast is the drinking game between Tyrion, Jaime, Brienne, and Pod, I guess.
They mentioned Tysha.
Yes. They mentioned Tyrion being married once before, right? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, and I am still bitter that they seeded that plot line and it didn't go anywhere. I'm still bitter about it. Still. I can't let it go.
Was Jaime's reaction to that normal? Because he was kind of like...
He was just like, lol, drink. Yeah. Lol. This emotionally traumatized you. Drink.
I forget, though. Does Jaime remember that it was emotionally traumatizing for Tyrion? Or does Jaime know that it was? Because he thought it was a prank at first, right?
No,
I mean, because he was the one who did the prank, right? It was like a prank to get his brother laid, and then Tyrion took it really seriously and got married to the prostitute, and then later on Tywin made an example of her by, like,
having her fuck the entire guard's house and then himself. I think that anybody who heard that would realise that it was traumatising. Now, admittedly, it's not as traumatising as what's in canon, because the way that they dealt with that story is not canon to me. In that it turns out that she was never a prostitute. She was a crofter's daughter, and Tywin had her raped. And he had his son rape her. And had Jaime lie about it.
So Jaime should have known.
Yeah, and that realisation is what sends Tyrion spiralling off into his where do whores go journey in Dance of Dragons.
See, I thought what Tyrion said next made sense. The reactions to the initial bringing up of the subject was kind of off. Like they were laughing about it. But I guess because if it does sort of hit a sore spot for Tyrion, the thing he says next, which he asks Brienne if she's a virgin, kind of snapping back at her, I thought that sort of made sense. But the whole scene kind of seemed off just because that line should have been more emotionally resonant, I think, for both Tyrion and Jaime. It was a bit weird.
And plus, the fact that they're presenting virginity as being something that is shameful. Because in the context of the world of Westeros, and this is something that has been hammered home time and time again, is how important somebody's virtue is. Especially a woman's virtue, and especially an unmarried woman's virtue. If you are a woman who has had sex out of wedlock, you're soiled goods. You can't be married. You have to hide it up and cover it up.
Exactly. And even for today's standards, it's more of a male thing, right? It's more of a male bullshit thing where it's just oh, you're a virgin. Who gives a shit? But it doesn't really apply in this scenario. It is a weird flex again for Tyrion to kind of say that about her. Like that's not really an insult.
It's not an insult, and in fact, you're a virgin. It's oh, well, you've managed to survive all these traumatizing experiences and still retain your virtue. Which I think it's stupid placing that much value on somebody's virginity anyway. But in the context of the show, to have that as being an insult is just a fantastic example of the show's disappearing patriarchy. It's magical. It vanishes when and where it wants.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
At all.
But I guess it does make sense in terms of just being a contrivance to set up the next scene, right?
Which I'm sure made all of the Jaime and Brienne shippers very happy.
Yes, because they were basically, the only reason they brought it up, it didn't have to make sense in terms of just the characters or the story or the time period, but what they wanted to do by having Tyrion say that is to have Brienne, storm off to a room and Jaime to follow her to more or less
to do the dirty.
The deed. Yes. Which in itself was kind of nice, but just the way they went about it was a bit off.
Yeah. Could have been done a lot more organically.
Yeah, exactly.
Without having to shame a noble-born character.
Yeah, what's with the shaming part? That is strange.
A virgin. Maybe it's just symptomatic of how they're portraying Brienne as a man in a woman's body.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
But we're one of the lads where in the books she resents that being a woman and a woman's role in society doesn't suit her talents, but she doesn't resent being a woman. And she is not one of the lads. She is a young lady who has her head filled with songs, much like Sansa.
I think that's where I guess the insult part comes from. She's not a virgin because she's virtuous, but she's a virgin because of her choice in lifestyle, like becoming a knight, taking on these kind of more predominantly male roles. So
he's just seeing her as one of the lads.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess it makes sense in that instance where he's kind of just insulting her in that sense. So,
but again, in the context of the world's universe, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
And so we have that emotional scene between them and physical scene between them, and then I guess we could move back and we could skip ahead and then move back, and then later on, after Jaime finds out that Dany's troops are moving on King's Landing, and then Jaime, he spends the night kind of thinking about what he's gonna do next. And then he decides to leave for King's Landing, and Brienne confronts him, and she tells him that you're a good man, you're not like Cersei, and then he just breaks her heart more or less and just kind of this unloads all his sins upon her, and then
which he's already done. He's already done that in the bathtub.
Yeah.
We're all the way back in season 3. And you've got to think, if the show is trying to have some sort of semblance of timelines, Jaime has been pretty much alone with Brienne in Winterfell for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
For the time that it would take for
yes.
Daenerys to get down south.
Assuming they don't have the teleporter
that
Euron has.
I think the teleporter was definitely back in full force this episode, honestly.
But for now, we'll just assume it's a technology that only Qyburn has developed, yes.
But I thought that it was, right, I've got to end this all. I thought that was what was spurring his decision, because Cersei is a monster, and he's supposed to have come to that realization about 5 different times in the series now. And I thought he was like, right, I'm going to end it all. I'm going to finish what has been started by everyone else, and I'm going to finish her because we are both monsters. But then Benioff and Weiss said in the Inside the Episode that Cersei is his addiction, and he just can't get enough, and so he keeps on going back, and it's like, fuck off.
Because the prevailing theory was that he lied to Brienne just so she wouldn't follow him.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. You're saying D&D has stated specifically.
That's what they said on the Inside the Episode.
Oh.
Because that's what I thought, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That he was lying to Brienne, keep her out the way, so that he could destroy Cersei.
Why did they have to do Brienne like that? I mean, they gave her this happiness, they gave her this, comfort. She was finally in a good place, and then they just did that to her. I don't know. I wasn't happy about that. I was mad at Jaime.
I'm so mad. I could understand it if he had the noble intentions of keeping her safe in Winterfell.
Yeah.
But according to the Inside the Episode, that is not the thing.
I guess it's because he thought maybe Cersei might win, and so that's why he's going south.
I thought it was maybe like an echo of what he did with the Mad King, in that he's going down to try and save as many lives as possible.
Mm. Ah, there you go. So, I mean, in that instance, he's not going back there to go to Cersei. No. He's going back there to do the right thing. Yeah. He's going to be a good man in the end. And hopefully that's the case, because I feel like his whole sort of arc has... I mean, he's definitely right. He's not a good man. He's done some horrible shit. But he also has, like, sort of a code, right?
Yeah.
Like, the horrible shit he's done has kind of aligned with his specific code. And his code, for the most part, is generally honorable. Yeah, so... I don't see him just straight up joining back with Cersei or anything like that, addiction or not.
No.
I mean, maybe he beats the addiction.
Especially when he's just been threatened by Bronn.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, we see Bronn again. And honestly, right. Can't he just die? I'm sick of his character. George R.R. Martin is sick of his character. In fact, he said in an interview that came out a couple of days ago that Bronn has been pushed to the forefront of the show far too much.
He's Lord of Highgarden now, or he's going to be.
It's like, fuck off.
He's going to be king at this point.
Do you know how other many Lords of the Reach there are?
It's just like that. He just keeps moving up.
He needs to die. I'm sick of him.
He's that guy at the office who just doesn't do shit. He's just... he's like the worst employee, but he constantly just keeps getting a promotion and nobody knows why. Yeah. Eventually he's going to sit on the Iron Throne. He's going to be CEO. CEO Bronn.
CEO of Westeros.
Yes. Yeah, that whole scene, it lacked tension. Like, you never thought Bronn was going to kill either Jaime or Tyrion.
No.
It was pointless.
They just keep on insisting on bringing back Bronn. And this is a fun tidbit that I read. Not sure if it's 100% true or not, but apparently Jerome Flynn, who plays Bronn, and Lena Headey used to date.
Oh.
And so it ended very badly, and that is the reason why they are never in a scene together.
Ah, that's why she sends Qyburn over there.
It's like, which one of the characters is more essential? Cersei
Obviously,
or Bronn?
Lena Headey. You would think they would just fire Bronn, but maybe Bronn has dirty pictures of D&D and he's just holding them for hostage.
Maybe.
Who knows?
I think it's more a case of D&D like having a vehicle for all of their dick jokes. You know?
Ah, that's right. He is the master of dick jokes. And in that case, that makes us hypocrites because so are we.
Yes, but we don't write characters specifically for that purpose.
True. And our dick jokes are more upper class. They're highbrow dick jokes. Yes.
We are, of course, the epitome of highbrow.
Yes, exactly. But anything else from that scene? We also had, at the feast, we had Sansa Stark and Sandor Clegane.
I'm sorry, I'm complaining so much about this episode, but I have so many issues with the fact that Sansa is like, being raped made me stronger.
Yeah.
If I hadn't been raped, I would still be a worthless character.
Yeah.
And it's like all you need to do is look at her character development in the books, which, to be fair, having gone back and rewatched some of the earlier seasons, they completely ignored Sansa anyway. They completely ignored her character development anyway. Which is why when I first watched the first 3 seasons, I wasn't into her. Read the books, love her. Best character in the series, I'd say. But the fact that they were like, the only way that her character could be developed into a strong woman on top is to have her be raped and brutalized. Like that is not how good writing works. Rape is revenge is rape. What? It's a very disturbing mindset that the writers have had with this, and it does genuinely upset me.
Yeah, it's probably just something that is typical when you have like male writers who
have not been raped.
Don't consult. Yeah, I mean you'd think that they would consult with survivors and maybe talk about how best to present it
in a sensitive manner.
Yeah.
But D&D don't have any female writers in the writing room anymore. At all.
Yeah, I mean, obviously nobody would have asked for or be happy about, that kind of trauma happening to them. But how they present themselves and how they describe themselves or where they are as far as the destination goes is something that is probably best if you just like ask survivors in general. Like, how would they talk about who they are today with regard to what has happened to them in the past?
Like, something that I know is that different people will process their trauma in different ways, Mm-hmm. And yes, some people might process that trauma by becoming more cautious, more headstrong, more whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that is a wrong way to deal with your trauma, but it is a common trope in a lot of fiction, in a lot of TV, that you need something traumatic as rape to happen to you in order to get your character to that point. And it is just a common trope, and it's a trope that disgusts me. And the fact that they were like, well, that was the only way that she could have become a strong character. It's like, read her fucking book arc, you wankers.
Yeah, they didn't need to go that far. Like, she had so much traumatic shit happen to her. If you wanted to have trauma be the impetus for her character arc, I mean, Arya at the same time went through a lot of traumatic shit, but she didn't have to go through that.
No.
Yeah, I mean, they both lost their father. Sansa in particular, she had an abusive relationship with Joffrey. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that definitely would have been enough for her to become the person that she is today. So
that was the thing that stripped away her illusions. It taught her that appearances aren't everything. And she has carried that knowledge throughout the rest of her book journey.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was nice to see them reunited. It would have held more weight if they'd actually interacted for more than just a couple scenes previously. No. But there you go.
Yeah, the show in general is kind of just fast forwarding through things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only 2 episodes left after this. I mean, we're reaching toward the end, but it doesn't feel like we're anywhere near the end. You know what I mean? It's.
I couldn't wait for this episode to end.
After the feast, we also have the start of just the rift between Dany and Jon taking place, where Dany asks him not to tell his brothers and sisters the truth. And it's actually very... I loved, like, Emilia Clarke's acting in this episode.
Was acting.
Very just expressive, facial emotions when she's, like, begging Jon you know, she's a queen. She rarely kind of like lowers herself or whatever, or just shows weakness of any kind. I guess it's not weakness. Weakness is the wrong word to say. She rarely shows any vulnerability of any kind. And she's emotionally vulnerable in front of Jon, begging him not to tell his brothers and sisters. And of course, in the next scene, he's just...
Honestly,
Targaryen.
I did quite enjoy that scene. Just because it was one of the few occasions where you get to see both of them act.
Yes.
And in the feast scene as well, like, Jon was actually a really good actor in that scene. He was good at playing drunk, playing coy, reacting. It was a really fun scene, and then he goes into the scene with Daenerys, and there was acting there instead of just stony faces and monotone. It was great.
Yes, I really enjoyed that.
It was like the director had actually said, okay, so guys, we're going to do this thing now where we actually let you act. You know? Okay, cool.
I really liked it.
It was a good scene. And it did seed well the rift.
Yes. Because that was basically the point where I think Dany decided that, like, oh my god, this dude is going to tell everybody he needs to die, more or less. Because, like, you could see the sadness in her eyes knowing that it wouldn't work. Knowing that this man that she loved, she was going to have to get rid of him at some point.
Yeah.
And it was very sad for that. It was, like, emotional and sad. And, of course, Jon, naturally, being the Ned Stark clone that he is, he just goes off and he can't lie to his brothers and sisters, or his cousins, actually.
His cousins and sisters.
He tells Arya and Sansa the truth and makes them swear not to tell anybody. Which naturally doesn't work, because in the very next scene, Sansa tells Tyrion.
Yeah, and then Tyrion tells Varys.
Yeah. What did you think of their decision to just cut away without having the actual sort of words being spoken?
It's like they don't want to write difficult scenes. That was something that we needed to see the reaction for, you know? It's not just Ned who's lied to Jon, he's lied to all of his kids. Mm-hmm. And that should fundamentally shake them. This man who they've honoured and loved and modelled themselves after has lied to them their entire lives. That needed a reaction, mate.
I'm conflicted in that I want to see the reaction because of everything you just said. I'm also kind of weary of the fatigue of saying the same thing over and over again. Like, now you react, you know what I mean? So I do kind of understand why they cut away. I don't know, maybe just not the... Obviously, the Tyrion Sansa one, definitely they should cut away, I think. But the Arya Sansa in the Weirwood one, I think I would have liked to seen that one, because that one is more emotional because of the people involved. Yeah. With Tyrion, you don't need to say it over again. With Varys, you don't need to say it again. That one I would have liked to see, the Sansa and Arya one. But yeah, so then now 8 people know.
Yes. Wait, hang on, let's go through. So Varys, Tyrion, Sansa, Arya, Bran, Sam, and Jon. That's 7.
And then Dany would make 8.
And Dany, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, there you go. And of course, as Varys aptly puts, I mean, it's no longer a secret, it's information now. Yeah. It's just, especially Varys knows. Varys could likely tell anybody. But I did enjoy those 2 scenes with Varys and Tyrion. Like, I could just watch a show of them talking.
Yeah, so long as it's not all just shit dick jokes. But it was nice to see their conflict about who they're going to support.
Yeah, because it basically represents the main conflict going to the end.
Yeah.
Who is going to sit on the Iron Throne? Because we know it's not going to be Cersei because she's the bad guy. But we have these 2 semi-protagonists, I guess, yes. But although it's becoming quite clear who the protagonist and who the antagonist is, based on how these last few episodes have gone. But yeah, you see the main conflict and you see it talked about and represented in these 2 characters who are going to pick sides. And it's looking like they're going to pick opposite sides.
They kept on mentioning how impossible it would be for them to marry.
Yes.
And it's like, there is so much precedent of Targaryens marrying in order to eliminate any other claimants. Like, that is why the Targaryens married brother to sister. 1, to keep the bloodline pure, and 2, so that there was no squabbling over who the throne belonged to. You know?
I did appreciate, though, Varys finally mentioning the incest. Nobody was talking about the incest for a long-ass time, and then someone finally mentioned it. But yeah, I do agree that from that standpoint, the only main enemy would be the Sept, and the Sept what is the sept even around anymore? I mean,
uncle nephew, like uncle niece relationships aren't as frowned on. It's just direct incest because I think it's Alice Karstark. So there is precedent for uncles and nephews and nieces and shit marrying in the North anyway, because I believe the faith only really looks down on incest if it's husband, if it's dad, daughter, that sort of thing, brother, sister. But the faith is perfectly fine with first cousins marrying.
Oh, okay.
And that's the same kind of relation distance that you'd have between your aunts and your uncles.
Ah, there you go. Have at it.
So it's incest and it's gross by our terms, but it's acceptable in the world of Westeros. Because you have the example of Alice Karstark in the books, who is running away from her uncle who wants to marry her to solidify his claim.
Yeah, I do know that one of the main sources of conflict in like the early Targaryen rule in Fire and Blood is the fact that they have to reconcile their, the incestuous ways with the sept.
Yeah.
But I think it was primarily brother and sister kind of marriage that they were like freaking out about. But that aside, I think the main contention with them getting married, which Varys kind of spelled out, is that Dany would control him more or less. That his efficacy as king, as Tyrion puts it, his ways to temper her worst impulses would not really fly, I guess, if he was basically just married to her and not king himself. Like, he wouldn't be making the decisions in the end. So no matter what advice that he gave her, what his own instincts would drive him to do, that she and her sort of temperament would rule the day in the end. So I think that was the main concern of marrying them.
I mean, Rhaella Targaryen was able to manipulate Aerys to her own ends, as far as I'm aware.
But do we think Jon is that type? He's not the manipulator type. He's more of the subservient type, right? So it doesn't make sense in this fact that like marrying them would not really resolve the fact that she would still be making the decisions instead of him.
I still feel like that's a weak ass argument.
Yeah, but how do you feel about her? I mean, I guess we could go about this later, but how do you feel about her turn in general? Because she, throughout her character arc, she's kind of made decisions that would make her seem to be a good ruler. Varys has even talked about in the past about how she would be the right person for the throne. And now she's kind of done this heel turn where she's basically turning into a mad queen. And part of the problem is that the series has been so rushed in these last few seasons that maybe it's not as earned as it should be, as it would be in the books. Because I do feel like this is the ending that George has kind of laid out, that she is going to go mad queen.
Fire and blood.
Yeah, exactly. How do you feel overall about that kind of turn, that heel turn that she's making? Do you think it's earned?
Not in the TV show, not by a long shot. Not by a long shot. Like, I can't pinpoint the time when it happened, honestly. It's like she suddenly did an about turn when she was kidnapped by the Khalasar in season 6, was it? Season 5? Something like that, I can't remember. And she just decided to burn down a fucking temple. I think that's when that was like the major heel turn.
Yeah, was there an instance where she granted mercy to a specific group and they just betrayed her or whatnot? I mean, that might have been a book thing as well, so... like the slave masters, didn't she grant mercy to a specific group?
In Meereen, some of the nobles she granted mercy to. And there's all these conspiracies going around in Meereen, but I don't think that was actually in the TV show, as far as I'm aware. I erased Meereen from my memory.
I do think that this is one of the things that there are certain, I don't know if I mean, it might have been in the TV show, but there's certain things that George has kind of put in place.
Yeah.
To where it does make some sort of sense. It just feels a little bit rushed to me, but there have been certain instances, like she burned the Rickon, she burned the Dickon and his dad. She lost some of her moral compasses, like Jorah dying in the last episode. She lost some of her children, 2 of her children. She has sort of this kind of bitterness that comes, I guess, with making sacrifices for the good of the people. Like, she went north to help Jon and to help to fight off this evil. And she's like, I did all this for you and you're not going to help me, with my particular war. She has regrets over certain decisions, like Tyrion telling her to spare King's Landing, I think, when she first got to Dragonstone. and that didn't really work out. So there are instances that Archcutter driving her to this fire and blood kind of mentality where like anytime she makes a decision that is a John type decision, she ends up paying for it in some way. And segueing off that, she does lose Rhaegal as they are heading to Dragonstone in one of the most controversial scenes, I think, of this episode, because everybody's angry about this. Rhaegal, who did have his wing punctured and was kind of flying drunkenly when leaving, he ends up getting hit by 3 scorpion bolts and dying, presumably. So what did you think of that scene?
You know what? When you're up in the air, you should be doing reconnaissance.
Yes.
And she wasn't, so it's her own fucking fault. I have no sympathy.
But she just forgot. According to D&D, she just forgot.
She just forgot that you're flying by Dragonstone, which is really close to King's Landing. Ooh, better check that there's not any threats there.
She forgot about Euron. She forgot about the most OP character in the series. The magical teleporting man.
I think it's just stupid, honestly. Stupid.
Someone clearly drugged her cup of coffee.
Yeah.
We need to check Starbucks employees to see if they,
any one of them have Lannister sympathies.
Maybe one of them came into work one day with like a big fat gold ring and like just pockets full of gold nuggets.
It's all just tips, honest. Barista tips.
Yeah, we need to examine some of our local Westerosi or Winterfell baristas here. It's very suspicious. But yeah, we get the most blatant instance of plot armor since last episode, where 3 shots kill Rhaegal immediately, and then Drogon decides to charge the rest of the ships, and all the scorpion shots miss.
It's like, what the fuck?
What happened?
And those scorpion bolts are reloading really quickly.
Exactly. It's
like, crossbows are very impractical, and that's a big ass crossbow.
They went from like precision archers to being replaced by stormtroopers
in the space
in like
of
a matter
shot.
of a second. Yes. The fact that she couldn't see them was also like a big point of contention, because when you're flying up that high, you could see pretty much everything, right?
She just wasn't looking.
But again, she forgot.
She just wasn't looking.
She was texting while she was up there. That's the problem. Someone from House Starbucks gave her a mobile phone. She was up there texting while driving. It's not something you want to do when you're flying a dragon.
And then Euron decides, well, might as well destroy the ships then.
Yes. What's up with that? How are these scorpion bolts so powerful? Are ships worthless now because this technology just renders them useless?
I don't fucking know, mate.
Like, how can you even have a ship or a fleet of ships do anything? You just have a scorpion on the shore and just like take them out one by one.
Yeah, so easy. And then there was, I don't know how they captured Missandei.
She went on a skiff and apparently paddled the other direction.
Right into their arms.
Yeah, Grey Worm was like, get on a skiff. And Sunday gets on the skiff and just starts paddling back to Winterfell. That's what she was doing.
She was doing a Gendry.
I don't know what yeah. Everybody else like fell and swam the shore, but she just went the opposite direction, I guess.
And then she got found and captured. And it's like, what?
Yeah, that was interesting. Before we get to the final scene, should we also talk about the goodbyes at Winterfell? That we kind of forgot about that.
Oh, yeah. When they're heading down north, Tormund's like, oh, mate, I'm going back up north. Can't stand the women here. And Jon is like, you know what? You can take my spirit animal.
Just take my best friend, the one who I've raised from childhood.
Who is
from
the literal, figurative representation of my soul.
Yes. Just take him.
Just take
him. Here,
him.
take my soul.
I don't care.
I'm a zombie anyway. It's all right.
I never liked him anyway. Stupid dog.
Yes.
Now I have a dragon. Oh, wait.
Yeah, I'm a Targaryen now.
That was the most upsetting thing in the whole episode for me.
He didn't even pet him. Didn't even pet him. Didn't tell him what a good boy he was for fighting off a horde of whites, even though the plan was ridiculously stupid to have him charge in with a Dothraki.
Oh, that was the worst. That was the worst thing in the entire episode.
The hilarious part was because it came right after Sansa said to Tyrion, what if there was someone better? And then they immediately show this loveless zombie not even petting his dog and just throwing him away.
Like, really? Is that the best we've got?
Yeah. You certainly don't mean that guy, do you, Sansa? Clearly you're talking about Tormund.
Yeah.
Because it can't be this puppy-hating bastard Jon Snow.
Yeah, no. D&D don't understand anything. They don't understand the significance of the direwolves. They don't understand themes or plot or dialogue. You know what? I think this might be the episode that ended me.
Well, I mean, I'm surprised you survived the last episode.
This episode just felt so long.
Maybe it was the fact that this episode was well lighted, where previously you couldn't see the Starbucks cups. They were littered all over the battle floor, but you couldn't see them, and so you were okay. You were just like, what's going on? I'm just blind. And then here now you could see all the flaws in bright light and striking 1080p quality. So then you were just like, oh.
And the thing is about this episode is that
Can someone turn off the lights again?
Yeah, this episode seems to be the one that has turned a lot of people. Like, normally, the A Song of Ice and Fire Reddit is quite positive about the TV show. Nope.
At least the Game of Thrones ones is.
Yeah.
This time, neither.
No.
That's when you know you've lost the audience, is when the Game of Thrones, the one that has been supporting the TV show, fighting off the book lovers all this time, is now joining with, they're joining with the book lovers in hating this episode.
Yeah, I think this episode is the straw that's broken the camel's back. But as
now,
this is traditional for final seasons of a show, isn't it? I think the only one that's managed to successfully pull off a final season, as far as I can remember, is Breaking Bad.
Yeah. There's been a few that have been satisfying. I think I can't come up with any on the top of my head right now, but I don't think it's as bad as Dexter, because Dexter was just unwatchable toward the end. Lost is another one that just, whoa, they didn't really have a direction. At least this show has an ending that they want, so that helps. I think this show, because it has a set ending, it just has a weird way of getting there, but it's still, I think the conclusion itself is determined, and so that makes it somewhat okay. There's been shows that they just went on a season too long, you know what I mean? Those are the worst, I think, for me. Like, where they could have had a good, satisfying ending, but they just extended it. But like, I can't even make an excuse for John not petting the dog, because I mean, I want to say it's CGI, but this is like one of the most well-funded shows and successful shows where money should not be a problem. Like, there should be no CGI restrictions or budget restrictions in terms of John being able to pet his dog.
They are literally killing off the dragons because they can't be bothered to pay for CGI.
And speaking of which, that last scene, which was really confusing to me, what the hell they were even thinking, just bringing like 24 Unsullied and a dragon within range of like 12 scorpions to have this little peace talk.
They still trust Cersei.
Yes.
And the outside of King's Landing, that is not what King's Landing normally looks like.
Yes, it was a small desert patch.
Where's the winter?
To be fair, they did do an overhead shot first, which showed the outside of the set, the CGI portion, that was full of like lush grass and hills. It was just, there's this small patch that was clearly the TV set that was just dirt.
Yeah.
That did look like Dorne. That was a desert. So once they did the close-up scenes, they were all desert. It was just Dorne with this tiny little rampart fortification. But the previous shot showed like a big vast city behind the wall and a big lush green hillside behind Daenerys and them. It was just the TV set portion was obvious.
Obvious and shit.
Where's the money? Who's pocketing the money? I want to see the receipts.
I don't know.
Has Starbucks coffee gotten that expensive?
Kris, what if, right? What if Game of Thrones has all just been some big money laundering operation? We've cracked the code.
It's a sequel to The Sopranos. I've never seen The Sopranos, so I'm just guessing. But it's a mob boss show.
Well, it's both so. HBO.
So yeah, we have the final scene where Cersei does Cersei things to the surprise of no one except Daenerys and Tyrion for whatever reason. I don't know why she didn't just shoot them all right there.
There we go, war over.
Yes. They're there, they're vulnerable. They have scorpions. Daenerys is not even on her dragon. I would have just shot all my scorpions right in that little formation there where like Dany was standing. Like, look.
And there you go, that's all the big guys.
Yeah. They're all standing right there. What do you think would have happened if they did that? How would the plot armor have saved them then?
Rhaegal returns from the dead and eats them all and dies again.
They probably would have missed, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It probably would have been something like that. They just shoot him. It's like the Night King scene where a cloud of dust just rises up. And hey, they're all okay.
Again.
Plot armor. And then Cersei gives Missandei a chance to say the last word, or say her last words, and she says Dracarys, giving basically Dany permission to fully break bad and go full Mad Queen, which she's probably going to do.
Fuck shit up.
Yes. Which I'm not sure how she's going to do when a scorpion is that powerful, which is another thing that people were complaining about. In the scorpions in the books, they can only kill a dragon if they hit him straight in the eye.
Yeah, the most vulnerable part.
Yes. But these are apparently upgraded scorpions. You could just do that. You could just upgrade it. Just, Cersei, she just pointed at the crossbow and said, make it a stronger crossbow.
Power up.
Plus 10.
I want stronger.
Yes. Double the damage, please.
I don't care if it's not law friendly. Double it.
Yeah. Qyburn just sprinkles some strength potion on it, and it's good on the wood. And there, double damage. Science.
That's exactly how science works.
And so now we have our Mad Queen, sort of Jon Snow set up. There's a battle between Cersei, but I think that's secondary. It's a secondary conflict. This next episode is probably going to finish off the Cersei forces and set up the final boss, which is Daenerys Targaryen.
Yeah.
The other thing I thought was interesting from that scene was Tyrion kind of mentioning that he knew Cersei was pregnant.
In front of Euron?
Yes. How do you think our leather-jacketed friend is going to feel about that as he listens to his emo CDs?
I reckon that he's going to be pretty pissed. Because obviously she told Jaime that she was pregnant with his baby, and that's why she told Tyrion. And I'm assuming that Tyrion is still assuming that he's still alive.
Yeah.
That the baby is still okay. And
what is his response to that, though?
He's gonna be like, you fucking what, mate? You fucking what?
Is he gonna go to a tattoo artist and get some more Chinese character tattoos, which I imagine? In my headcanon, he has plenty of all over his body.
And they all mean Korean barbecue.
Yes. He has a tribal tattoo, too. Maybe he'll go for another tribal one. But
yeah, full sleeve.
Play some more Linkin Park and Limp Bizkit CDs. My Chemical Romance.
His wounds will never heal.
You know what he could do, though?
Betray.
Is fire up the teleporter and teleport Jaime's baby out of there and teleport his baby in. This is how
oh my god, it's the Tyrion as a time-traveling fetus theory all over again.
It all makes sense. I mean, Euron has this teleporter. He's kept it a secret for, it's been hinted at, it's been seeded, it's earned. And when he busts it out in the next episode, it's going to be like, oh, that explains everything. All you people who are complaining about his teleporting ships, boom, roasted. You look like fools now.
Well, there we go. Just,
Euron in the books did have magic, right? He had blood magic and things. He was more interesting, I think. He was less of this.
So much more interesting.
This thing. He had like a dragon horn he was going to use to bind the dragons to his will. That would have been a fun way to kill Rhaegal off, I think, or to make him sort of have to fight or even the odds, more or less, instead of magical scorpions.
Yeah.
Bind Rhaegal to his will, have him fight Drogon.
I felt like that would have been far more fun, and I feel like that's kind of what's going to be hinted at happening in the books. And that dragon isn't going to get possessed by the Night King. It's going to get possessed by the dragon horn.
Oh, there you go. Anything else from this episode that you found interesting?
Who the fuck's the new Prince of Dawn?
I don't know. I think it was speculated online. House Ronwood?
Ironwood.
Oh, is the Y an I?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they just use an I?
It's like how you spell wind with a Y, because a Y is an old interchangeable vowel.
No, that's...
No. You're speaking to an old English expert here.
That's terrible. Why would they do that? It just confuses me.
Because a Y, like, you know how every word's got to have a vowel in it? Sky. How do you spell sky? S-K-Y. The Y is the vowel. It's an interchangeable vowel. But the Y sound represents the same as the I, so Ironwood.
I'm going to spell my last name with a Y now. Takahashi is now going to have a Y at the end. Yeah. People are going to pronounce it Takahashi because it's going to...
Takahashi.
Yeah.
I'm shy.
Same with Kris, too. Kris is going to have... I have 2 I's in my name. Kris with a Y.
Kris doesn't work like that, though, does it? Different sound.
Krys? Why not?
Kreis.
I guess
Sky.
maybe. Yeah,
Kreis.
true. Ironwood.
Kreis
Anyways,
Takahashi.
House Ironwood. Is that the new Prince of Dorne?
Probably. Who knows? Who fucking knows anymore, mate?
Who do you think is the Prince of Dorne?
It was just the fact that they mentioned it so offhandedly.
Yeah.
It was like, what? Well, it's nice to know that Dorne is still a stable region.
It is interesting how the 7 kingdoms are kind of reduced to 2 kingdoms now, just for the sake of TV. It's just none of these other people count. They're irrelevant. In fact, Bronn is now lord of all the other 5 kingdoms.
Yeah, fuck it.
He's the new Prince of Dorne.
Apparently Edmure's still in the dungeons as well, because we haven't seen Edmure.
That's true.
In seasons and seasons, yeah, because he was taken back to Walder Frey's dungeons, and we just haven't seen him since.
Arya just forgot about and just left him in there.
Yeah, Saw's uncle.
Clearly, yeah. It's gonna be like the Lannister home as well. Didn't they? The Unsullied evacuated. So who's there now? Is it Bronn? Is he the lord of there too? It's just yeah. None of the other places count anymore. They've been consolidated. It's the 2 kingdoms, the north and the south, yin and yang. That's how it is. Euron and Jon. One other thing I thought was interesting is Arya leaving, and they didn't give her a goodbye scene, which is weird with any of the other shows. I guess it's on character for her to just kind of bail, but that's going to be strange. Where do you think she's going? I mean, what do you think is going to happen to her character? Because she's obviously going to try to kill Cersei, right?
And then she's going to die.
You think so? You think she's gonna, yeah, because I mean, she might die to Gregor Clegane. That might set up the Clegane Bull.
Yeah, like her revenge.
It is kind of sad, though, because it does make sense that she would die if she's saying she's never going to return. I mean, if she lived, is she, like, really not going to see Jon again? Is she really not going to see her sister again? That would be strange. It would make more sense if she just died.
Yeah. Yeah, I think her arc's over.
To be fair, I mean, she did kill the Night King. She did do the thing that was
She's done now.
Thing. Yeah. She's kind of like Bran. It's like afterwards, like, okay, I survived this. Now what do I do?
Just gonna peace out.
Yeah, peace out. Start my own wheelchair company. Authentic wheelchairs from 2 centuries ago.
You know, technology still hasn't improved.
Yeah. He's gonna just make replica wheelchairs, replica everything. You know, he's just gonna replica thrones.
Just replica crowns. Everything.
Yeah. No one can deny that his knowledge of history is completely accurate and lore friendly because he's actually been there.
He's the 3-eyed raven.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think it's going to be the end. It's the epilogue.
Yeah.
We're just going to see Bran in his shop, in his hardware store, just
whittling away.
Yeah.
Whittles all day and he whittles all night. Whittle everything in sight.
Selling his wares. That's what he was doing when he was warging into those crows. He was just looking for spots to set up his new shop.
He was just whittling.
Yeah.
He was scouting some fine wood to whittle with.
He was sending out marketing ravens. That's
just like, come on, guys. You know you want to come here.
Grand opening of Bran's new wheelchair shop. Wheels by Bran.
With the Z.
He's gonna pimp up his wheels. They're gonna have like Valerian steel spokes and shit. They're gonna make noise when they spin.
It's gonna be like vroom, 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 vroom.
On that note, is there anything else, or is that it for this episode?
I think that's it, mate. I need some time to recover.
You sound tired. You sound sleepy.
It's this show. Like every time I complain about it, it drains me.
You just need some of that Restarosi coffee. You'll be fine.
I'll be fine.
All right, that is it for this episode, Lord Friendly. Tune in next week. We only have 2 weeks left. 2 weeks left.
Thank fuck.
I'm a little sad. Yeah.
I'm sad that we're not going to be able to bitch about Game of Thrones anymore, but I just want it to be over.
Suspend your disbelief. That's my advice to you and others who watch the show, is to just kind of suspend your disbelief. Don't think too hard
but
about
people tune into the podcast for the nitpicking.
Yes, true.
Let's face it.
All right, don't suspend your disbelief.
I think there's a better way to put that.
Feel free to disbelieve as much as you like. How about that?
We are the nitpickers.
Yes.
We guard the way.
Don't stop disbelieving.
Don't stop disbelieving.
There you
and
go.
Hold on to that feeling.
All right, goodbye, guys.
Goodbye.
Just trying to clear my throat. Make sure, it's coming across clean. Hello, testing.
Always sound beautiful, Kris. Don't you worry.
Thank you. It's not easy, being this beautiful.
It's not easy being perfect. No. I should know.
It takes a lot of work. I don't wake up this way, even though I technically did.
Yes, well, sometimes perfection is just something that is innate.
Yeah.
Requires
a lot of makeup and vocal exercises, both things that I am an expert on.
Yep. I mean, really, think about it. If you snore, you're really working out your voice prior to waking up, ready for the day.
Or if you talk in your sleep.
Oh, God. Whew. I talk in my sleep, Summon. Whew.
Don't give away our secrets, Alice.
Sorry. My bad.
No, I mean when you're talking in your sleep, just make sure it's just gibberish.
No, it's okay. I told James the other day. I woke up, I sat up, looked at him, and said, I'm going to die in the morning.
Oh my God.
I then went back to sleep.
That is scary. It's like a prophecy.
He was just lying awake in bed for the next 3 hours. Yes. Like, oh shit, what? Alice, no.
But luckily, if he watches Game of Thrones, he knows that prophecies don't always come true. So
he does not watch Game of Thrones, and he is very thankful for that because he had to put up with me watching it yesterday.
But you could tell him. See, there's this grand prophecy of Azor Ahai. Azor Ahai? God, I cannot say names.
Azor Ahai.
Azor Ahai, and it was fucking seeded for 7-8 seasons almost.
And then...
Nothing. It's nothing. So what is your prophecy compared to that? It's nothing.
Nothing at all. And it didn't come to pass because I'm awake and alive.
Yes, exactly.